Well, hello everyone. David and Karen of Film Courage here on the line with Jay Duplass, part of the Duplass brothers, known for Cyrus, Baghead, Puffy Chair, and much more. And he's here to talk to us about his Kickstarter campaign for his documentary, Kevin. So welcome, Jay.
Hello. Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I'm psyched to be doing it.
Thank you for being here.
Jay, where we want to start is we wanted to start with the subject matter of the film, Kevin Gant. You say that he's sort of your hero from your college days. What is it about him? What makes him your hero?
I think just, it's impossible to describe what it is about him because he's extremely unique. And, for me, it really comes down to he's the most inspired person that I've ever met. I mean, and, the fact that he's an artist just takes it to a whole other level. But, he is kind of indefinable, and that's what excites me about him. He's like a singer-songwriter formatted guy where he plays an acoustic guitar, and he'll tell stories and sing songs. But, he's built like a weightlifter. He looks like O.J. Simpson. He sings about like really spiritual and cosmic things. He's just kind of, you can't, he has like a soul singer voice, but he has like flamenco guitar influences. So, it's kind of one of those things where what's really special and amazing about him also makes it tough to market him. And, those are the types of people that generally capture my heart.
Did you have a direct relationship with him years back, or was it more from afar? Were you just a fan that saw him play, or did you actually speak with him on a weekly basis?
I was totally a fan from afar. I had bought tapes from him directly, but I was really just, an 18, 19-year-old kid totally in awe of this guy and just, kind of just, saw him as like a god, even though he certainly would have talked to me or hung out with me. But, for me, I was so awestruck that I really just went and watched him as much as I could and just sort of like, took it in.
I'm wondering, along those lines, how large of a following did he have during those days?
It's hard to quantify. I think, the ones of us who talk about it, the way we describe it is if you liked him, you loved him. Like, he didn't appeal to everyone, but, I would say, there were probably 200 or 300 people in Austin who really liked him and loved him, I should say. And those people were not necessarily, they were also artists usually, a lot of musicians, a lot of artists. For instance, Jeff Buckley would request that Kevin open up for him when he came to town. He was just one of those musicians. So it was, I don't know, there was definitely something really special and eccentric about him.
Mm-hmm. And on John August's blog a couple weeks ago, you did a great interview where you discussed the project, and you said, it's great being in the studio system now, but you kind of had this like existential thing you were wrestling with and wanted to have some meaning in your work. And you were at a point in your life where you're doing maybe some soul searching, and you felt that you needed to step up your search for Kevin. I guess he'd been he'd been gone for a little while from your life. So what was it at that time that you felt that you needed to look for Kevin?
Well, yeah, Kevin had disappeared in 1995, and nobody really knew what happened to him or what was going on. And I had always kind of tracked and hoped that, I would, even when I didn't live in Austin, I would like kind of Google and scour the musicians, listings just to see if he would ever show up again. And I think it was, a few years ago, it was, a point in my career and a point in my life where, I really needed to connect, and I wanted to just reconnect with something very inspired from my own past, and that honestly was Kevin. And it was also, when I was a kid and I was watching him, my brother and I were musicians at the time, and we had always thought like, oh my God, this guy's so great. Our music is actually way more mainstream. Maybe we can get popular and then have Kevin open up for us, and we can be a platform for like launching this guy, And that never really happened, but I don't know. I started to realize, wow, I'm a filmmaker now that people know and people pay attention to. This might be my chance and my platform to do it. So it was definitely like sort of like a cosmic universal spinning thing that, got me going.
Jay, I mean, this is a story that I can relate to because I have a close friend of mine. His name is Kyler Holmes. I like to call him Showtime, and he's someone that I spent a year with back in 1998, 1999.
Yeah.
Just the guy, and since then he just hasn't appeared anywhere on the internet. And I've lost contact with him, and he's sort of been out of my life now for about a decade. And in your case with Kevin, here you are, you're going out, you want to find this guy. But at the same time, why did it have to be a film? Why did you feel like, you know what, I want to document this journey?
That's a really good question. I mean, I would say that, first of all, I would probably be doing a lot more documentaries in my life if they didn't completely make you broke. It is definitely a money-losing proposition. So it's something that's part of a reconnection for me. Our narrative work is very realism based, and we use a lot of real people in our films, and that's a big part of what we do, and it's based on real events and real things that have happened to people that we know, and events in our own lives. So that's something that I've always loved to do. I guess the second reason would be providing that platform for Kevin, and sort of presenting him to the world like I always wanted to do. So yeah, it was I don't know, it's hard to describe because for me it was like a life experience first and a movie second, but I always had it in the back of my mind, like I think Kevin, this will be really good for Kevin. I think this will be really good for me too, because, very specifically with the documentary this small, the entire crew was me. That was it. It was me going to find him, connecting with him. We went on a journey together. I followed him, and literally the art was unfolding right there in front of my eyes. And it really took all of the intellectualism out of the filmmaking process. There were no meetings to be had. There were no discussions to be had. Things were happening, and I had to have the camera on and record it live. And it was definitely a very beautiful sort of like artistic process that it felt great. It was exactly the kind of departure from the studio world that I was needing. And then when I went back and made another studio film, I was excited to have all that support. So it definitely provided sort of the balance in my life.
Mm-hmm. Can you paint a picture of sort of those early days where you're sort of diving in more, saying, I'm really committed to finding where this guy is, and then saying, I'm gonna turn on these cameras. Can you just sort of paint the picture of the early days, what that was like for you?
Of when I first started really looking for him?
Yeah, once you're looking for him, but then once you decided to actually turn on the camera and start filming it.
Yeah, I mean, I basically, I started talking to a lot of friends about it, and, they recommended that, as painful or as uncomfortable as it might be, you want that camera to be rolling very, very early on. You want it to be rolling, honestly, when you knock on that door. And I didn't go that far with it because I really just wanted to check in with him and reconnect with him. But, probably within 20 minutes of him opening his front door and me connecting with him and just kind of checking in, making sure he was comfortable with everything, I rolled camera and I just started asking him all the questions that I ever wanted to ask him. And, luckily he was thrilled to have someone asking those questions, because he thought, he thought that he had disappeared into obscurity, as far as all of his fans were concerned. That it wasn't just his own choice. He figured it was mutual. And when he realized that, I did remember, and that I was actually really, very interested about it, it meant a lot to him.
Mm-hmm. And when did you learn about Kickstarter?
I didn't learn about Kickstarter. I heard some murmurs about it, but I didn't pay that much attention to it. But I have some younger guys who are helping me make this film, who are, doc hounds. And, they eventually when we started realizing that, oh my God, I think film festivals are becoming Kevin's comeback tour. I think this is really going to happen, And obviously not all film festivals can pay to, fly a musician out and house them. I was already quite a bit in the hole on the film, and we needed a lot of money to kind of support his tour. So they suggested it, and I went on Kickstarter, started learning about it, and guys there, and they were really excited to have us on there. And I don't know, it just seemed like the right kind of project. It's an artistic effort, but it's also somewhat of a humanitarian effort.
So you literally just learning about Kickstarter, I guess, just within the past few months, then.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how much research did you do? Sort of like studying other campaigns or learning more about this platform, but before deciding, you know what, I'm going to go for this with this film to try to see if we can do this for Kevin.
We did a ton of research. We basically, just kind of talked to the creators of Kickstarter and also did our own research and kind of collated the 15 critical things that you need to do. And we did them all, made a video, have kept in contact with people, and beyond that are giving prizes that we feel like are pretty good deals. Like our $25 prize is actually a signed CD from Kevin and a signed DVD of the film Kevin from me. So it's basically as good, if not better, than retail value for what you're investing in.
Mm-hmm. And crowdfunding has always been something that's used by up-and-coming filmmakers or content creators, not someone with an established name. So what is sort of the deciding factor that helped you pull the trigger, so to speak, to launch the campaign?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I thought about that, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of people on here who haven't launched their careers yet, I definitely thought about it a lot, of whether it would be right or ethical to go onto Kickstarter and raise some money. And, the way that I figured it is, my main goal with this film is to launch Kevin into the world. And in a lot of ways, I see this as Kevin's Kickstarter campaign. It's just on my platform. I think a lot more people, if Kevin had made his own Kickstarter page to launch his tour, I think he would have infinitely less money than since I made that page in order to do it, because people know who I am and they're going to come to this and they're going to, learn about him, because that's really my goal is not only to get Kevin into the world and to get his comeback tour going, but to support him in doing that, to raise some funds for him to do that, and also to get his music and the DVD out into the world. And it's weird because Kickstarter is like a triple win on all of those levels. So and that, and the fact that the documentary was itself alone was pretty expensive, and it's almost impossible to turn a profit on a documentary these days. So I decided to go forth with it.
As someone who has seen a good deal of success with your previous work, and as you just mentioned a moment ago, people do know you by name now. Has there been any sort of backlash with this Kickstarter campaign?
I haven't noticed any at all. I mean, I was worried about I was worried about all kinds of potential backlash for the movie. I mean, in particular, even the film itself, I'm very involved in Kevin's life, and I'm very involved in his story and in sort of him coming back to music and, essentially breaking the rules of the objective documentary filmmaker. But I've actually experienced the opposite in both scenarios. At film festivals, people are just psyched that I'm helping Kevin and doing this thing. And when they see the film, they see that it obviously comes from, a really pure place and a really supportive, loving place. And as far as Kickstarter goes, I've just gotten a lot of thumbs up and a lot of, exclamation points saying, I'm really glad that you're on here, raising awareness for Kickstarter and sort of validating it in some way. I don't know if that's really true or not, but to me, and this kind of even further completes the previous question, I love my studio filmmaking career, but I need more than that, and I do want to make a lot of smaller, weirder, more specific, and maybe even some humanitarian films. And I think those films are not going to fit in the very narrow distribution pipelines that our world is set up right now. So to me, Kickstarter is a really exciting way for me to do different kinds of work and not lose a ton of money while I'm doing it. I'm still going to lose a little bit of money, but with Kickstarter, it can raise more awareness about it and also, you know, support those kinds of works a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. How hard are you working behind the scenes? I mean, how are you going out and making people aware of the project? I don't think that you're on Twitter or Facebook, and, you know, how are you spreading the word about it?
You know, it's interesting. Yeah, I've never been. I'm just not a computer guy, you know. So I don't have a Facebook account. I don't have a Twitter account. But I'm realizing the value of those things now, and it's something that I'm, you know, seriously considering. Because you know, in general, I'm kind of like a private guy and spend time with my kid and like to keep it that way, you know. But it does make me. I don't know. Being on Kickstarter and being in direct contact with the people who care about what I'm doing has actually made a big difference to me. It's like it's kind of woken me up a little bit about like, you know, where distribution is going and where sort of you know, like I was talking about the platform, the pipelines are so narrow, but they're going to widen up, and I think to be in touch with the people who love your work is really important. So it's something that I'm interested in, and you know, as far as the way that I've just been going about it is I've really just been going through people, like through, you know, you guys, people I've talked to before and people whose emails I have and just friends of mine who, you know, who can connect me to other people. It's been a very grassroots sort of like having beers with people in LA and just saying, hey, I'm trying to get this out into the world. What do you think I can do? You know, and since I didn't have a Facebook or a Twitter account set up, I couldn't do that instantaneous blast right away. But I think in another way, you know, the fact that it has gone all through phone calls and emails and over beers has made it more special and more, you know, it's a very personal project to me. It's very something that I just really believe in. So it's personalized it in a way that I think probably Twitter and Facebook could help, but couldn't help personalize it in this specific way.
Yeah, it seems like you're getting a lot of real life support. Are you finding that there are backers that you don't know?
Yeah, there are definitely backers that I don't know, and I was curious to, you know, whether it would be all friends of mine and that this would just be a platform for a way for them to give me money, you know, which I was fine with, you know, if that would be the case. But yeah, there have been a lot of people that I don't know, and the coolest thing I think is the Austin community has gotten a hold of it a bit, and people who remembered Kevin from back in the day are getting in touch with me and with Kevin because of it, and obviously donating and supporting him in whatever, you know, small ways that they can.
You know, can you speak more of, you know, because you have sort of been disconnected of, you know, not being in direct contact with your supporters, you know, not being on Facebook, not being on Twitter, and here you are launching this campaign. I mean, how do you feel when you see sort of like one backer come in after another? I mean, your campaign is currently, you know, you have 150 backers so far, and that number is continuing to increase. I mean, do you feel that connection with the people that are supporting this project?
Yeah, I do. It's really, it's moving, honestly. It's I don't know, it just you know, especially because it's connected to something that I feel very strongly about a few things. And one is Kevin in particular. You know, it's just something that's like close to my heart and who he is and what he's trying to do, because, you know, and the unmarketability, quote unquote, of Kevin, you know, so that's moving to me. And then, you know, just in general, people's willingness to support something that is a little bit off kilter and a little bit different and you know, from what I'm known for. That's something that, you know, a lot of artists don't have the ability to slide back and forth between different kinds of mediums and different ways of doing things. And that's just been really just, you know, it's really meant a lot to me that people are there for me and are supporting me and are just kind of, you know, ready to receive this new thing and just to see what it's all about. Because that's one of the things that, you know, I was sort of like, you know, rebelling against, or not rebelling against, but just sort of diving into is you know, when you make a feature film, even if it's not for a studio, there are some very specific parameters that you have to hit in order for that thing to be distributed and sent into people's homes. And I think it's it's really interesting, and it's really exciting to me to just explore any new avenues for unique pieces of art that don't necessarily fit the exact thread and the exact pipeline that has already been set up.
I mean, you mentioned that you just learned of sort of Kickstarter just a few months ago, and here you are completely diving into this platform. What has this experience been like for you so far? I mean, you're down to your final 4 days. How hard, how challenging has this been? I mean, is this kind of what you expected? Did you know what you were getting yourself into?
I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It's been challenging. It has been, because you have to constantly, really figure out how to get the messages out there. Like I'm in Austin. I'm going to do like a radio show in Austin this week because I'm in Austin. I'm going to do direct a segment for Slacker. So, there's all kinds of, weird and very specific ways that I've just been involved in getting the message out there. But in general, I'd say it's just been super positive and super fun to get my email alerts and people who are interested in not only just dropping in $15, but like throwing in a message saying like, man, this guy looks amazing. I can't wait to see this film. Or I used to know Kevin in 1993. I mean, it really genuinely, and this is no BS. I mean, it creates a community, and you are directly in touch with those people, and so that's just something that I haven't really experienced before outside of just going to film festivals and doing like screenings, public screenings of our movies, and just talking to people outside after. It's a whole new way of doing things. It's really exciting.
And how empowering does that make you feel as an artist?
It makes me feel really empowered, because I feel like, a friend of mine who has always been, busting our butts for not like collecting email addresses. He said, you could have 50,000 and 75,000 person address if you had been collecting email addresses since Puffy Chair, and it definitely makes me think. It's like, what? Yeah, if I'm making a studio film, it doesn't really matter. But if I want to make something a little bit different, I want to make something special. If I want to make something that, is only for the people who are really interested in what we're making creatively. Being in touch with those people directly is really, really important. And not only that, but to have the feedback and to hear how it's affecting them.
Let's talk about a slightly touchy subject that everybody who crowdfunds may or may not run up against, and that is you reach out to people, maybe people that you know really well, and you get no response. How does that leave you, and what's your take on that?
Oh, that doesn't bother me at all. What I did is send an email to people and basically just said, look, this is not really about Kickstarter. It's not really about this chunk of money right here. What I am trying to do right now is raise awareness about this artist and this person who is 50 years old and who has been in a hole for 20 years and is coming back, and believe me, it's worth it. So I'm just raising awareness about this human being. If you'd like to go on Kickstarter, check it out. If you would like to donate money, that'd be great. If you're into it and you want to tweet about it and Facebook about it, that'd be great too. But I'm coming at it from a very long-term perspective of just my caring about Kevin and my investment in what that needs to be. And I certainly don't expect anyone to want to put money into it unless they are genuinely inspired and excited by what they see. And that's why we did a video, and we even cut a trailer, and really tried to put a good solid taste of what Kevin's about, so that people could hopefully get fired up about it. But yeah, it doesn't bother me at all if people are not specifically into it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure too, for Kevin, seeing his life up on screen, so many emotions go through him, and an audience full of people watching sort of take part in his whole life story like that. How has this impacted him?
Yeah, it's been beautiful to watch unfold. I mean, he he really played his first gig in 15 years at South by Southwest. After the screening ended, he went up and played 3 songs, and he talked for a while before because he was basically just crying the whole time. It was just, it was amazing. I mean, just to see, he saw the film for the first time that night, and then had to get up and play 3 songs, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done to this guy? But it went great, and he's really charming and funny, and people laughed and cried, and it was everything and more that I hoped that it could be, not only for Kevin but for me and for everybody in the audience too.
And also what's been great is we've been sort of putting some posts out on our Facebook page, and Kevin has sort of stopped by and he's been commenting, and we've learned a little bit more about him through those posts.
Cool.
I mean, how has he responded to this campaign? Not just the film, but also the sort of the Kickstarter campaign.
I mean, he is just the most genuine, most thankful human being in the world, and he kind of comes from the same place that I do. He's really like a artist in a cave kind of guy, So he's been learning how to Facebook and Twitter and Kickstart and all this other stuff, and it's been really fun to watch him do that. I mean, there's almost a whole other film, to be made, which is like, can you teach an old dog new tricks? I mean, this is a guy who's 50 years old who's just starting this stuff up, and I actually personally think it's critical to him being able to go on tour and to build a successful touring career. And whether that really works out remains to be seen. But he's taken to it really, really well. He thinks it's super fun, and Kevin, part of his personal goal is to play his music for as many people as possible. But for him, he's a very spiritual person, and it's underneath all that music, it's really just about connecting with other human beings, and that's something that he really hadn't done for a long time. He was kind of working a night shift at UPS, and kind of shutting his life down. So he's really been, he says in the film, I've been reborn, and that's something that. Hanging out with him and just talking to him on like a weekly basis, you feel it. It's very palpable.
And that makes me wonder. I mean, how does that feel for you? To take sort of your artistry and shine it on a human being like this, and sort of help, transform this guy's life. You were reconnecting with someone that inspired you from the past, and being able to do this. I mean, what range of emotions do you go through?
It's everything, man. I mean, it's just, I've cried so many times making this film and watching it play, and laughed, and just, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the highest calling that we can do is to do what we love to do in service of other people. And I feel like for the first time, this movie achieved that, to like 100%. And just to be completely honest, it feels amazing. I mean, it feels like, I am, I'm doing what it is that I'm supposed to be doing here on Earth, Oh,
that's great.
That's
no,
awesome.
We love to hear that. And I guess just as we wrap up, curious your take on whether we're going to see more and more recognizable names get involved with crowdfunding, based on what you're going through. I mean, would you turn to someone like John C. Reilly or Jonah Hill and say, you know what, guys, you guys have to get involved with something like this?
It's interesting. I would say it's a very specific thing. I think those guys have a lot of money, so I don't know what specifically they would need it for. But I do feel like if it was in service of someone else, I think that would be a very specific way to do it. Or if they wanted to do something that was just so off kilter that they couldn't get the funding anywhere else, I think that it would be very interesting to see them go down that road. And I've already recommended it to a ton of my friends who, a ton of my filmmaker friends would love to be making, weird little 38-minute pieces or, experimental art. And, it's just, the amount of time and the amount of money you have to spend on it, and that you're never going to make your money back, it often gets you to a point where you just decide not to do it. And I think if Kickstarter can open up some doors and some avenues and some platforms for people to make art that wouldn't otherwise be made, simply because the pipelines are too narrow to put them out there, I think that's fantastic. I would recommend that to anybody.
You know, and from this point forward, I mean, based from what you're gathering or gaining from this campaign, are you going to continue to sort of outreach to your supporters, to your fans, to the people supporting this campaign? Do you plan to carry that relationship forward?
Yeah, I do. I'm trying to figure out exactly the breadth of like what I want to do with it, because for me it's interesting. It's like I never got a Facebook page because I didn't really want to like spy on people I went to high school with. That was like, in my opinion, that was like what people were doing on Facebook, you know. But to do it and to be in touch with, you know, the people that I'm making art for, that's a whole different meaningful relationship and something that I'm absolutely totally interested in exploring. So trying to figure that out right now.
Gotcha.
Very nice. All right. Well, you have 4 days left in the campaign. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They tell me that the last 3 days are the most exciting. So I'm doing everything I can and crossing some fingers and toes.
Well, we're pulling for you, Jay.
Sure are.
You know,
we want to see this succeed.
Yeah, we want to see this succeed.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to seeing this film. Mm-hmm. We're going to continue to do what we can on our end to sort of get the word out for you guys. And we just want to thank you for taking a few minutes here to taking some time out to talk to us about this project.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I mean, this is all thanks to you, and I look forward to seeing you guys around again soon.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you, Jay.
All right, take care, y'all.
Thank you.